Okay, so it's nearly 2024, new year coming up, and of course people tend to think of making goals, new year resolutions. But of course, holiday time is a great time for reflection, and that's probably why people set goals then. You can set them any time of the year, of course. So the process I follow goes something a little bit like this. You break your life down into different areas. It might be health, jobs, relationships, whatever you want. And you have a think about what do you want out of those areas of your life. Where are you now? Where do you want to get to? Nothing complicated about that. But lots of people set really big way off goals, stretch goals I believe they're called, and you just never get there. I certainly don't. I guess many ordinary people like me don't. So the thing to do is to set baby goals, little steps along the way, and then, and this is the key, you've got to make either a system, a habit or a practice in order to get there. Give you some examples. So of course I want to have 1 million subscribers on my channel. Why wouldn't I? Should I make that a goal for 2024? Of course not. It's way too far off. I might not ever get to that. That doesn't mean it can't happen, of course, but if I look at my progress over the last 4 years, I can get a realistic idea of what my subs count is year on year. And then I can make a goal that's just a little bit beyond that. And then, and this is the crucial step, you put those habits and practices into place. Of course, you've got to figure out what those are to start with. So with that in mind, I've written some very modest goals for different areas of my life. And I've tried to implement some of these systems and habits and practices already. Why should I wait for January? And I'm hoping that that will move me towards those goals. Far more realistic, and it should certainly move me in the right direction even if I don't get there. So in this video I'm going to talk you through my goals for 2024. And the part that might be useful for you is what systems and habits I've created to move me towards them. If you've never followed this kind of a process before, then hopefully you will find it very useful. So let's get started. And we are in. Okay, so I am going to go through all my goals. There's not a lot, won't take very long, and I'm going to explain to you what I've done and how I've gone about it. Now, the way I'm doing it is just my own version, having read and listened to and watched other people talk about theirs. So the first thing I should point out is no stretch goals for me. I understand why people think that you might be limiting yourself, but look, I'm 55, I've done this countless times, and I know that it's highly unlikely that I'm going to make myself a millionaire doing YouTube. However, I would much prefer to be able to put realistic, down-to-earth goals in there that I know that I can, or at least got some chance of actually achieving. People might look at me and say, oh, you're really holding yourself back. I don't think so. I think it's just being typical British. Let's be realistic. Let's aim for the first tiny steps on the way to that big stretch goal. I'm not saying I don't have those ideas in my head. Yes, of course I want to be a millionaire. Yes, of course I want to be super duper healthy. But I'm going to be as realistic as possible and just do a little bit at a time. If it looks like I'm achieving way more than I've set as a goal, well, great, I'll extend those goals. So this is real talk, real people. You can forget about all the woolly nonsense. So my 2024 goals, I've split them into 4 areas of my life: productivity, health, the YouTube channel, and the greenhouse and the plants. Okay, so I'm going to start off with productivity. One and only goal: teach myself to type. Why? Well, because I spend such a lot of time on the computer typing and writing. I can't believe I've never actually done this in all the years I've been spending time on the computer. I think everybody should do it. Everybody should be taught to do it at school. Why? Because you waste so much time looking from the screen to the keyboard, from the keyboard to the screen. If you can just look at the screen, put your fingers in place and type away, then you're going to have much better quality of writing, much better experience. You're going to be much more efficient. And actually, having started this some weeks ago, it's actually easier than I thought it would be. I've already got my home row. I've already got most of the top row. I'm just beginning on the bottom row now. There's going to be a little bit of a moment where I've got to swap over from the kind of cack-handed way I do it now, where I'm just using two fingers all over the place and I've got to look at the keyboard, to the full-on experience of typing properly. I don't expect that to be easy, but it's going to happen, and I expect it to happen in the first quarter of next year. So here's the key. How am I going to go about it? Right, well, I'm going to use free, or I'm already using free online resources. There are a load of things out there that you can just register for, doesn't cost you anything. Of course, they're trying to push you the premium version, but if you use lots of them, then there's plenty enough to have a go out there, and they take you through lesson by lesson, practice by practice. And another really important habit here, because this is the whole point of these things, and the whole idea of getting to that achievement of being able to do it, is by putting habits into place. So I have made myself a habit and a practice of doing it at least 15 minutes every other day. And I know that if I do that, eventually I will get there. Who's not got time to do 15 minutes practice? I quite enjoy it actually as well. So that's my productivity goal. I do have one or two other ones, but I don't want to go into every single one with you. I just want to give you a flavour of how I go about these things. So health, main goal for health, I want to improve my strength and my stamina. These 8 SMART goals, I'm not setting myself a specific target. I understand all the reasoning behind a SMART goal, but for me to improve my strength and stamina, all I need to do is make sure that I track my strength workouts. If I'm tracking them, I can see whether I am improving or not. Last year I didn't. Now obviously I've just recently released a video about all my health struggles 12 months ago, so I wouldn't really have expected to make a great deal of progress. However, I could see, having reviewed it, that I was doing too much last year. Not only was I working on the gardens, but I was also trying to build myself up strength wise, and it was too much physically for me at my age. I needed gaps in between. Since the gardening season's finished, and seeing as I am now able to have a proper rest in between, I'm making progress again, and I'm going up on my weights. So the habit for me is the regular workouts. Never had a problem with that, so that's not something new I'm implementing. But as far as the stamina goes, that's something new, and every other day or 3 days a week I'm aiming to do a spin workout on my indoor bike in my garage gym. So there's the system and the habit I've implemented in order to get there. It's not a big deal for me, the health one, because I really feel that I've always had that motivation to do it. In terms of nutrition, I am now a Huel subscriber, so I also get those Huel drinks in, and I'm aiming to have at least one every day or every other day, maybe increasing it. So that gives me a good 40 grams of protein for that one meal. So obviously, if I can increase the protein that I take each meal, put protein first in my thoughts of what I'm going to eat, then that is also going to slow down the muscle loss and hopefully increase the muscle that I have on my frame. As far as the YouTube channel goes, well, I want to increase views, I want to increase watch time, and of course I want to increase the income. Why wouldn't I? Why else would we do it? How am I going to do that? Right, well, I've implemented something called a content engine. Now, this comes from Ali Abdaal's system, which comes from something else that he watched. And it's simply a system where, using the app Notion, you have what they call a Kanban board. So it's a way of creating ideas for content and tracking them through the various processes as you take it from the initial idea to the thumbnail and the title, to the writing of the script, to the filming, to the editing, to the publishing, and so on. And it tracks it, the whole thing, and it allows you to have everything in one place. Much easier. I've been using it for about a month, and I'm much more confident that I should be able to improve what I've got as an offering to people out there. You might have different thoughts on that, but I feel that I'm improving the content, and I can see that, or I should be able to see that, It's not easy on YouTube sometimes because views are very seasonal, especially when it's to do with plants, and they fluctuate. And you tend to find that over November, December, January, February time, it's the quietest part of the year for YouTube views. And I can see that just by looking back into my previous years. So long as I know that my last 28 days figures are better than they were last year, then I know I'm making some progress. I also want to consume more content on editing, presenting, writing. Partly the typing is to feed into the writing so that I'm not focusing on how I'm actually getting it up on screen, and I'm more focused on actually getting the ideas out of my head and improving the offering and improving the content. So moving on to plants and the greenhouse. So my only goal there is to improve my plant knowledge. So how am I going to go about that? Well, I'm trying to consume more relevant knowledge. So I'm reading books. I have the app Blinkist, which enables me to get books much more quickly for less cost and just read the main parts. That's what Blinkist does. I think Shortform does a similar version, probably a little bit better because it costs 4 times as much. I can only afford Blinkist at the moment, so that's the one I'm using. And if you saw the video on the journey of plants, that came from the summary that I got from Blinkist. So that for me is another system and a habit that I've put into place. I've completely taken out all the doom scrolling, the so-called doom scrolling. So I'm not looking at Facebook, I'm not looking at Instagram, I'm not reading the news. I've replaced all those daily habits of doom scrolling with reading stuff which is going to be useful to me. So I can improve my plant knowledge by using that app. I also have become a subscriber to the Medium app. So in that particular app, you can choose various topics and it feeds to you shorter articles to do with whatever you've chosen as your topics. So there is another bit of information there that's coming to me. So I'm consuming more quality stuff. I have another system in place to collect that and to capture it, and that will then come back to me as little reminders of what I thought was good. I share highlights and it comes back to me, it gets emailed to me. I've been using Readwise for that, and that's what that does. That collects in all these bits of information of stuff that you've read that you selected it as being highlights, and you said, right, I want to look at that again, and it feeds them back to you over time and says, look, you highlighted this, have another look at it. Great idea. Saves you from forgetting all this stuff. You can actually implement it into your life. Other ways of improving your plant knowledge, well, of course you can watch videos, but you can actually follow botanists on Instagram, on Facebook. Some more information coming into you. So they are more or less my goals for 2024. You might think they're a little bit woolly. I don't, because I know what they are. I've articulated them, I've written them down, and I have put systems and practices and habits into place to make sure that I get there. So, okay, what happens if I don't? What happens if it comes around to February, which is my kind of arbitrary deadline to have another little look at them and review them? What happens if I don't get there? If I get to that point in time and I look at them and I think, well, I've gone backwards or I've stayed still, then either the goal needs changing, maybe it isn't specific enough, maybe I need to look at that goal and be a bit more realistic about it. But the more likely scenario is that the systems and habits and practices that I've put into place just aren't doing it. I need to change those. I need to do something about them. That for me is a much more realistic way of goal setting in small steps, rather than coming in and saying, right, I want to be a millionaire, I want to have 5 million subscribers on my YouTube channel, I want to be an expert in this, I want to be doing talks at this. It's not realistic. Get back down to earth. Forget all these gurus who are telling you, yes, you need to aim for the stars and you might fall to the moon. It's just not, it's not life. It might happen for 1 or 2 people, but it's a very, very small percentage. Most of us mortals We've got to be more realistic, more modest, more down to earth, and that way you will get to where you want to go. That's my own feeling on it. You might feel completely different. So I hope you got something out of that. I hope that perhaps made you have a little think about where you want to be in your life, what you need to do coming up into the new year. Are there some areas that you want to improve? What systems are you putting into place in order to get where you want to be? Tell me about it in the comments. I'd love to hear what people are thinking after watching one of these videos. So I wish you all a very happy 2024, and hopefully all this stuff being in place, I will see you better than ever, better version of me, better version of you in 2024. And of course, if you want to follow some of my ideas, then you may want to know what all that tech is that helps you to put those systems into place, in which case this video up here will tell you the 5 top pieces of tech that completely changed my life over the last few years. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.